Now, elder statesman and Ijaw leader Edwin Clark has expressed worry over the escalating political crisis in Rivers State and has called on the Inspector General of Police to step in to avoid a total breakdown of law and order. In an open letter addressed to the Inspector General of Police, the Niger Delta leader is concerned that despite efforts by President Tinubu to broker a peace deal between the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike and the Rivers State Governor Sim Fubara, the feud between the two former allies still exists. The leader of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum also condemned threats by the controversial members of the State House of Assembly to impeach the sitting governor, describing it as an act capable of creating chaos in the state. He urged the IGP to stop the lawmakers who defected from the PDP to the APC from parading themselves as members of the Rivers State Assembly.
So my appeal to Mr. Inspector General of Police is that, Mr. Inspector General of Police, you are a very intelligent fellow. We have seen that your policemen in uniform are being used to breach the Constitution of Nigeria with impunity. You have a duty to arrest the situation. People who have been declared, whose election have been declared null and void, they are no longer there, should not be allowed to disturb the government of elected governor in Rivers State, because he will spread to Niger Delta, from Niger Delta to Nigeria, and it will affect our economy, which is already very bad. So I believe that the Inspector General of Police should advise Mr. President that the interests of one individual and his men should not be taken above the interests of the nation.
Well, I'm now being joined by RISE Director of News and Politics, Editor Sumner. Sambo, good to see you and thanks for your time. We thought this would have, fizzled or thinned out, but here we are again. It looks like it's coming on all fronts. A lot of people talking about this, and it takes us back to how it started and looking at our Constitution. For Chief Clark, he thinks that the president's intervention has been jeopardized by perhaps whichever party, and for the APC in Rivers State, they also think that this is a slap on the president for the governor to go about to follow what's in the Constitution. So we are in a lockdown. There is a constitutional provision as against a political solution. So where do we stand in this, Sumner?
Well, I think those who understand what the position of the law is should be speaking out at this point in time, because we're getting into a constitutional crisis in Rivers State. And it's very clear for both parties that something is being done in the wrong here. And let's begin with the lawmakers. The decision of the lawmakers to actually defect from the PDP to the APC is the one that has actually brought the legitimacy crisis that they are facing now. And that's why the governor is insisting that, in the eyes of the law, they are not state-elected lawmakers. Because, these lawmakers themselves actually said that they had defected from the PDP to the APC. Now, was there a legitimate way of defecting? Because, if you want to defect, there must be a particular reason. And what we've had politically in the past is that there must be a division at the national level of your political party, at the National Working Committee levels and all of that. So there's been a dispute as to if their defection to the APC was actually legitimate or not. Now, having gone towards that, they've been sitting over time, and they passed this Public Procurement Act in the state. And the governor refused to sign. And just when he received, a delegation from Bayelsa State yesterday, which comprised of, former top governors, former top leaders in the state, and all of that, you would have seen that there was that attempt for him to actually stamp his, authority, because there's a sort of constitutional crisis that is brewing up. Because if the governor had assented actually to that bill, someone could actually go out there and say that it's illegal.
So it looks like a booby trap.
Yeah, like a booby trap for him. And then also, don't forget that some time ago, there was an allegation as to the issues of the budget that was passed. They said that whatever budget that is implementing right now is illegal. So if they do not recognize its authority to implement the budget that was passed by Edison, who was the former speaker, who is now his own chief of staff, they refuse to recognize the speakership of that of Edison. But now they are expecting him to recognize their own leadership. Now, don't forget that budget, although, I mean, the circumstances surrounding it too is also controversial, because there were just two persons who sat down and passed it, while these 27 members said that they were no longer going with the governor. Now, that budget is being implemented.
But again, sorry, Sumner, I hope you don't lose your train of thought.
Yes.
What do you expect if by the law, 27 who left were, according to the Constitution, no longer members?
Yeah.
And even if you had two people,
Yeah.
doesn't that show that there is some kind of constitutional legitimacy on that budget?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I said it's
passed.
for both parties. But what the law recognizes is who are those who are the constituted authority at a particular point in time. Even if they are two members of the National Assembly, as long as their legitimacy is not in question, whatever they do at that point in time will be deemed legitimate. So that's what, I mean, there are several laws and several instances where we've had all of this. So the major challenge is that the political decisions that were taken by President Bola Tinubu, and that's where we actually have problem. Because when President Tinubu got into this issue, he should have approached it as a statesman, as a president of the country. But instead, he approached it as the leader of the All Progressives Congress in trying to find a solution between aggrieved members of the PDP and aggrieved members of those who claim were in PDP but have now moved on to the APC. President Tinubu was so eager to want to accept these 27 lawmakers into the APC so that the APC will make the majority in the Rivers State House of Assembly to his party's advantage, that he didn't look at it from the angle of a statesman as a president, and that's why we are where we are now. And the Governor Fubara is saying that whatever agreement that they had with President Tinubu is not constitutional. They were all political solutions. And so he chooses which one to follow or not.
So, sorry to cut you here. What do you think may have happened? Because at that moment, Governor Fubara told the world that he was ready to abide by that gentleman agreement they all had indoors.
Yeah, but he could have decided to also change his mind. And honestly, for him too, I mean, I don't really envy him, because if he hasn't been able to build up a war chest of leaders who will back him, honestly, he's going to be in very deep trouble. Because there were several agreements that he kept entering with Nyesom Wike. I mean, it's not constitutional. And from there, we now went on to the president's political intervention, signing all this agreement. We all saw his signatures. So if he wasn't willing to abide by it, why was he signing all of them? I know that things change politically, but he should also understand the stability of the state. And should understand that when you enter political agreements, there are some that you just have to win, and there are some that you just have to lose. But it looks like he's facing a legitimacy crisis himself ahead. Because if these 27 lawmakers sit down and impeach him, he would have the cause to actually battle with. And then there will be a serious legitimacy crisis on him. And he shouldn't forget that President Tinubu is the president of the country. And then, of course, he may deploy the institution of state to want to protect the 27 lawmakers. So it's a dicey situation. But that's why we're asking that those who understand the law, eminent Nigerians, the National Assembly should intervene. The National Assembly could also take over the responsibilities of the Rivers State House of Assembly.
And let's wrap up with E.K. Clark's, demands or plea or letter to the IGP. Is this a work of a police? Because now he's trying to bring the police into this. The president couldn't solve this. The APC in Rivers is kicking. And E.K. Clark is also asking the IGP to look into this. Where do we stand in this?
It's what President Tinubu will say at the moment that really matters. We must follow what the law says. He has the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Fagbemi to advise him. That's the major reason why we have such people in that position. If there's a constitutional crisis in a particular state, you give the orders. But what the APC is also doing, they should be very careful, because it sounds like incitement for Tony Okocha, who is even not a substantive APC state chairman, to be issuing orders to these lawmakers who are not even full members of his party to go and impeach a state governor. There should be a political win-win. The law should take its course, and the president should stand his ground, because President Tinubu swore to uphold the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, not the Constitution of the APC, or even to support the PDP. Let him do what is right, and in this instance, he should direct the Attorney General of the Federation, including with the Inspector General of Police, to ensure that the law is followed and there's no breakdown of law and order. Because the way they are going, they could lead to a constitutional crisis, and it may not just start from Rivers, it could affect everyone.
And that's what a lot of people are kicking against, and it mustn't happen. I'd like to thank you for your time, but we'll stay on this, Sumner Sambo.